What college was simply a placeholder. It was a placeholder for a time in my life where I had no idea what the hell I wanted to do. Like, all I knew was that I wanted to be successful and I wanted to have a rich life. I wanted to be completely different than what I saw growing up. So the only option for me was to go to college. That's what you see on the movies. That's what they talk about in school. Like, that's what they're preparing you for, is to go to college. Like, whatever you feel a calling to do, even if it has nothing to do with what you majored in, like, do the thing, because I promise you, you will be rewarded. You will not regret it. Like, there isn't one person that I've ever spoken to who went to college, got a degree in one thing, and is now doing something else that regret it. Hello and welcome back. My name is Juditha and I am your mindset coach. I am your dream life advocate. In this space, we talk about all things mindset. We talk about doubt, insecurities, identity, all the things that go into creating your dream life, because I'm doing the same thing. Today, I really want to talk to the girlies who went to college, the girlies who maybe you just graduated, maybe you graduated years ago. And the reason why I'm creating this video is because I realized that for me, what college was simply a placeholder. It was a placeholder for a time in my life where I had no idea what the hell I wanted to do. Like, all I knew was that I wanted to be successful and I wanted to have a rich life. I wanted to be completely different than what I saw growing up. So the only option for me was to go to college. That's what you see on the movies. That's what they talk about in school. Like, that's what they're preparing you for, is to go to college. Ultimately, that's why I want to do this video, because if you're feeling lost right now, like, I hope that this video will give you some direction. I hope that this video will make you feel like you're not alone. You're not the only person who have been there, who is there. So the first thing that I want to get into is my experience, right? Like I said, I went to college because I was like, there was nothing else to do. Like, what else am I going to do here? I was raised in Tallahassee, Florida, and I knew for a fact that I did not want to stay there. It just wasn't the type of place that I could see myself living long term. So I knew I had to get out of there. And for me, that was college. Just to give you an idea of how, like, unplanned and uninterested I was in going to college, before I even knew how uninterested I was. When I was applying for colleges, I specifically did not apply anywhere that required me to fill out an essay or to write an essay. I personally just did not care that much. I was like, if I don't care, like, if you require an essay, I don't want to go to your school. Like, I just don't care that much. And I ended up applying for 3 schools. I ended up applying for USF, which is in Central Florida. I applied to UWF, which is in Pensacola, I believe. Where the hell is that? I don't remember where it is. Somewhere in Florida. And then I applied to FIU, which is in Miami. And none of these schools required essay, so that was like my minimum requirement, no essay. I got into all 3, but I decided to go to FIU. I decided to go down south to Miami because I was familiar with Miami. I had family here, so that's how I ended up down south. This is how I ended up here in Miami. That's the first part of how my process looked for going to college. I basically chose a college because it was easy. I didn't have to write no essays. I was like, great, this is perfect, let's do it. Now, I remember when I went into college, I joined, my idea in my head, I was like, I'm going to do journalism, because I was in yearbook, I believe all 4 years of high school. And in yearbook, like, we had to do journalistic things. Like, we had to go out to the games. We had to interview the players. We had to look for people online. I remember this one year I was like in charge of doing the fashion spread, and I interviewed my friend who, like, would always dress nice. And I remember really liking, like, that part of it, getting stories, talking to people. Even though I was like shy, I still liked the idea of getting out of my comfort zone in that way. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna major in journalism because I enjoy these things. I could somewhat see myself doing that. And even specifically broadcast journalism, because I loved, like, I would always watch E! News. Back in the day, I would always watch that, and I just loved how they would report on, like, celebrity gossip. So in my mind, I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a broadcast journalist, and I'm going to report on, like, celebrity news and just things that interest me. So that was the idea when I went into college. Now, I got to college, and I don't know what happened. I don't know what changed my mind, but as I was like, I don't know, like, when I got there, I kind of just felt like, damn, I don't think I want to do this. And you know what? I feel like part of the reason why I changed my major was because I didn't believe that I could do that. I didn't believe that I could actually be on TV. I didn't believe that I could actually find a way to, like, get on E! News. And I just think that in my head, I was like, you know what, Judy, you need to pick something way more realistic because this just doesn't feel right. Like, of course, this was pre self awareness. This was pre me wanting to create my dream life. It was just me wanting to do something that made me money. So that's why I ended up changing my major. And when I chose my major, which ended up being public relations, so I still stayed within the school of communications and journalism, but I just went another route. And I could specifically remember the way how I chose public relations. I looked at all the majors that FIU had to offer, and I just went through them, and I was like, which one of these seems like something that I could do? And I remember landing on public relations and looking it up and seeing what it entails, and I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. Like, I could represent people. I could still work with celebrities because, you know, that's what a public relations person usually does, a publicist. So it sounded interesting, and that's literally how I chose what I chose to have a career in. I was like, you know what? Let's just go for it. I should be able to make money in this. I kind of somewhat believe I could do it. Let's do it. So that's how I chose my major. So clearly, I'm not one of those people that had like their whole life planned out and knew exactly what they wanted. I was kind of just winging it. Now, during my 4 years of college, I always say this, but for me, college was a time where I really got to know myself. It was a time where I really got to know like who I was. I lost a lot of friends, so I recognized who I was within friendships. I was in a long-term relationship, and it wasn't always the smoothest thing, especially in the beginning, especially when neither of us are emotionally aware or self-aware. So I learned a lot about myself there too. And something that I can really remember, like as I was coming up on my senior year of college, and you know, the real world is like knocking at the door. It's right there. It's right around the corner. And I really started to like reflect on, damn, what am I going to do with my life next? I have to start applying for these big girl jobs. Because I think at this point I had already had 2 internships, or I was currently doing two different internships in PR just to get a feel for it. And to be honest with you, I was completely uninterested. I remember I would go to the office, I would show up, I would do what I have to do, but I was never like an overachiever. And there was another intern in that same office with me, and I just remember her, like, she just always seemed to be like someone who took the incentive. Like, she always did things, and I was just chill. Like, if they assigned me something, I would do it, and I would do it excellent. But I feel like I just wasn't, I don't know, I just didn't feel like that was my space. Like, I could do the work, but I just wasn't passionate about it. And even so, that was that one internship. And I remember the second internship, I was working for a Black woman, which I loved that. I loved supporting her in her business. And we would work from her home office in Miami Beach. And even that experience showed me that, like, I'm just not meant to be someone who is like told what to do. Because the last day that I worked for her, I remember her asking me to do something, and I told her, like, absolutely not. I was like, no, I don't feel like doing that. Like, I'm not doing it. And she was like, what do you mean? I was like, exactly what I just said. I'm not doing it. And I remember her just being like, okay, well, you can leave for the day. And I kind of just left and never came back because I feel like it was mutually understood that I just wasn't going to work out for the position. Because I simply just, if I don't feel like doing something, like, I don't want to do it. And that was like another indication to me that something isn't right here, right? Like, something isn't right. Like, I knew all along that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew all along that I wanted to start my own business. But when you're a college student, it just feels so convenient because under that title, college student, like, nothing else was expected of me. And I think like that made me feel so good. Like, it made me feel safe, right? And I feel like that's why some people go to college. It's because there's nothing else to do. And if there's nothing else to do, once you enroll in college, no one expects you to do anything else. No one is expecting me to create anything. No one is expecting me to have a really good job because I'm a college student, right? Like, I can be broke, I can be irresponsible. Like, under that label, I can do so many things and like get away with it. So I really liked being a college student for that reason. But the real world was coming, and I had to figure out, like, well, what am I going to do? So of course I did what any logical person would do. I started applying for jobs. I started applying for PR jobs, as many as I could. And what I realized was, like, I would show up to these interviews and I felt so small. And now this was clearly a me thing, not a them thing, not the company, not even the other people that were there to interview for the same position. I just felt small because I just didn't feel like I belonged there. Like, I don't know, some of these ladies were showing up with like briefcases and things, and I just had like my mini little backpack purse, and I'm like, I just felt so out of place. All of these things just kept indicating to me that, like, there was something wrong with the path that I was on. It wasn't making me feel excited. I hated the job search. I hated going on those interviews. And sooner or later, I just stopped going on interviews. Like I really just was like, I don't think this is what I want to do. I don't think I want to work in this area. I don't think I want to travel to a 9 to 5 every day. It just wasn't exciting to me. So some way, somehow, I want to say maybe after I graduated, I was like, you know what? Me and my best friend like sat down. I remember us in our old house. We sat down on the bed and we were just talking about like our future and what we want to do. And I believe it was her idea. She was like, you know what? Let's start a business. Let's start a clothing company. And that is how my first business that I've ever started began. So let me get back to the main point. The main point of this part is that I graduated. I knew I didn't want to be in the career that I just got a degree in. So I started to dabble in entrepreneurship, which is what I always wanted to do. And that was honestly the best the best thing that I could have done for myself, because once I started a business, it gave me confidence, right? Because then I felt, damn, I did it once, I can do it again. And mind you, as I'm doing this business, as I'm growing, as I'm learning, this is when I really went through like a spiritual awakening. This is when I became super self-aware. This is when I became super emotionally aware, because this is what having a business requires. Like, this is what being a business owner required of me. I had to completely step out of my comfort zone. And I just know if it wasn't for that first business, that first idea that didn't work out, if it wasn't for that though, I would not have had the confidence to become a coach and start a business on my own, right? To do everything on my own. Because up until that point, I was working with my best friend. So I always felt like security and safety because I had someone else to lean on. But I finally started my own business, and that's what I'm doing now. Now I'm a mindset coach, and I like to help ambitious women who also want to start businesses get started. I like to help them create the mindset that is necessary for the goals that they have, because I've been there, right? And that's what this video is really about. It's to let you know that if you went to college, right, and you are just now realizing that, you know what, I don't think the thing that I got a degree in is what I want to do, right? Or maybe you're already in the career and you're like, but I still want to branch out. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to have my own business. I want to work for myself. I want you to know that if you have a desire to do that, then you need to do that, because you will never feel settled in seasons of your life where you're not meant to settle. Like, it will never happen. You will always feel that call to do something else. You'll always feel that desire to step out of your comfort zone. So if you're wondering, now what? Like, what do I do? I've graduated. I came to the conclusion that I don't even want to do this thing. My advice to you is to be really honest with yourself. Like, be honest. Don't be afraid to dream big. Like, don't let your brain talk you out of the dream that God gave you. Just don't do it. If you know you feel a desire to do something, if you feel called to start a business, if you feel called to help women, if you feel called to help men, if you feel called to help any groups of people, like whatever you feel a calling to do, even if it has nothing to do with what you majored in, like, do the thing, because I promise you, you will be rewarded. You will not regret it. Like, there isn't one person that I've ever spoken to who went to college, got a degree in one thing, and is now doing something else that regret it. So that's my advice to you. Like, instead of thinking about how it could go wrong, think about how it could go right. Think about how happy you're going to be if you were to change, right? So if you went to college and you feel lost, if you feel like, damn, the thing I went to college for isn't what I want to do, know that this is normal. Know that it happens, and know that you don't have to regret going to college, because I definitely do not regret it. If I had to do it again, I would still go to college. That's because I had so much fun when I was there. I met my boyfriend, who I've been with for almost 10 years. Like, I had to go there. I had to learn so many things about myself. I had to lose friends to realize the things that were within me that I needed to change and shift. So don't regret your experience, but just know that you are not locked into that. You don't have to be locked into having a future doing that thing. If it's not what you're passionate about, you don't have to do it, okay? I don't care what your parents say. I don't care what your friends say. I don't care what the world says. Do what makes you happy always, okay? That is really the message of this video. Just know that it's normal to feel lost, like, right after, because the way how they sell college to us, they make it sound as if once you go to college, everything is guaranteed. The job is guaranteed, the happiness, the life. And that's just not the case. And it takes us going through it to really know it, and to really be like, you know what? Actually, I don't love it here. I don't want to do this thing. And that is okay. Okay, that is it for this video. I hope it was helpful. I hope it gave you something to think about. Make sure that you like, comment, and make sure that you subscribe before you leave. And if there's anything on your mind, like if there's any doubts, any fears, leave them in the comments and let's have a conversation. And maybe there's something that I can say to help you feel more confident about transitioning from whatever it is you thought you were going to do to what you actually want to do. Okay? I will see you guys on the next one.